The endless void of space erupted with shimmering light as the Imperial flagship Eternal Glory emerged from hyperspace, its polished silver hull gleaming against the backdrop of distant stars. Behind it, like a cascade of metallic raindrops, 200 perfectly aligned warships appeared in precise formation. Each vessel bore the distinctive arrow-shaped design that had struck fear into countless civilizations across the galaxy. Admiral Vexler stood on the bridge of the Eternal Glory, his tall frame cast in the blue glow of holographic displays. His four-fingered hands were clasped behind his back as he observed the sensor readings of the solar system before him. This was merely another conquest in the Empire's 10,000-year history of bringing order to the chaos of space. "Status report," he commanded, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of Imperial authority. "My Admiral," his senior sensor officer responded, "we detect approximately 50 vessels of varying sizes in orbit around the third planet. Their formation is—" The officer paused, his brow furrowing in confusion. "Well, there isn't one, sir." Vexler's golden eyes narrowed. "Explain." "The human ships appear to be arranged in no discernible pattern. Some are clustered together, others drift alone. Their designs are inconsistent. No two vessels appear identical." The main view screen activated, revealing the human fleet. Vexler had expected primitive vessels, but what he saw defied all Imperial logic. One ship was painted in swirling patterns of blue and green, reminiscent of the planet below. Another appeared to be covered in what his cultural database identified as racing stripes. A particularly large vessel had its hull decorated with an intricate mural of celestial objects. "They've detected our presence," the communications officer announced, "but they're taking no defensive positions." Vexler straightened his already impeccable posture. "Open a channel on all frequencies. It's time to demonstrate the might of the Empire." The communications officer complied, and Vexler began the speech he had delivered countless times before. "This is Admiral Vexler of the Imperial Fleet. Your system now falls under the protection and authority of the Galactic Empire. Surrender your vessels and prepare for peaceful integration into our civilization. Resistance will be met with—" A sound interrupted his carefully prepared speech. It started quietly at first, then grew in volume. The bridge crew exchanged confused glances as the sound filled their communications channels. "Laughter. Human laughter. Sir," the communications officer reported, "they're responding on all frequencies." A voice, still containing hints of mirth, came through the speakers. "Oh wow, you really know how to make an entrance, don't you? Hey there, Imperial folks. I'm Captain Saracen of the Earth ship Bob." There was a pause. "Yes, we named our ship Bob. We thought it was funny." Vexler's composed expression cracked slightly. "You dare mock the Imperial?" "Oh, no mocking intended," Captain Chen interrupted cheerfully. "We're just happy to meet new friends. Love what you've done with your ships, by the way. Very shiny. Though they could use some color. Have you considered racing stripes? They make everything go faster, you know. At least that's what my engineer keeps telling me." More laughter echoed across the channels as other human captains joined the conversation. The Imperial bridge crew watched in stunned silence as their sensor displays showed several human vessels beginning to move. But instead of battle formations, the ships appeared to be dancing. "Since you've come all this way," Captain Chen continued, "how about we show you how we do things in this part of the galaxy? Trust me, it's more fun than all that peaceful integration business." Admiral Vexler, for the first time in his 300-year career, found himself completely speechless. The perfectly choreographed first contact scenario he had planned lay in ruins, shattered by the sound of human laughter and the sight of starships performing barrel rolls through space. Admiral Vexler watched in mounting frustration as his fleet's attempt to establish a standard containment formation was repeatedly disrupted by the most unusual display of spacefaring he had ever witnessed. The human vessel Bob had started it all, performing what could only be described as an elegant pirouette between two Imperial cruisers. Target the lead vessel's engines. Vexthor commanded, his patience wearing thin. A precision strike shoal. Sir. His weapons officer interrupted, an unusual tremor in his voice. I'm having trouble getting a target lock. The human ships, they're not where they're supposed to be. On the main display, a small human ship painted like a starry night sky spiraled through space, leaving a trail of rainbow-colored particles in its wake. According to Imperial physics, such maneuvers should have torn the vessel apart. Instead, the ship's crew was broadcasting what they called classical music, specifically the Blue Danube Waltz. How are they managing these trajectories? The Imperial science officer's fingers flew across her console. Their inertial compensators should be overloading, but they're perfectly fine. And those energy trails, there's some form of controlled plasma discharge, but the patterns are beautiful. More human ships joined the dance. A massive cargo vessel painted in sunset colors executed a perfect corkscrew maneuver that brought it within meters of 3 Imperial destroyers. The destroyers' captains, trained to maintain perfect formation, found themselves breaking ranks to avoid collision, only to realize the cargo ship had already twirled away, its captain humming a cheerful tune over the open channel. This is absurd, Vexthor muttered. No species treats space combat like a performance art. Who said anything about combat? Captain Chen's voice came through again. We're just showing you our normal traffic patterns. Oh, watch this next part. It's my favorite. The human fleet suddenly synchronized their movements. Smaller vessels wove between the larger ones, creating intricate patterns that reminded Vexthor of the decorative fountains in the Imperial capital. Each ship's energy trail combined with the others, painting three-dimensional works of art in the void. Sir, the sensor officer reported, we're detecting unusual energy signatures. The humans they're using their shield harmonics to create some kind of resonance pattern. Musical notes began to pulse through space, created by the deliberate manipulation of shield frequencies. The Imperial crew found themselves captivated by the combination of visual and auditory artistry. A young navigation officer was caught tapping her foot to the rhythm before quickly stopping under Vexthor's stern gaze. Attention human vessels, Vexthor tried again to regain control of the situation. This display, while impressive, does not change the fact that... Oh, hold that thought. Captain Chen interrupted. You're just in time for the grand final. Everyone ready? 3, 2, 1. The entire human fleet moved in perfect coordination, their ships forming a massive three-dimensional spiral. As they spun, each vessel released a carefully controlled burst of plasma, creating a dazzling aurora that enveloped both fleets. The Imperial ships found themselves at the center of a swirling rainbow of light and sound. Several Imperial crews broke protocol and applauded. Vexthor heard his own weapons officer whisper, I've never seen anything like it. And that, Captain Chen announced proudly, is just our warm-up routine. Would any of your ships like to join in? We'd love to teach you some moves. The purple cruiser on your left flank looks like it has potential. I can tell by the way it's been swaying. Admiral Vexthor turned to see that, indeed, one of his cruisers had drifted slightly out of formation, its captain apparently entranced by the performance. The perfect military precision of the Imperial fleet was unraveling in the face of humanity's joyful chaos. And somewhere in the back of his mind, a small voice that Vexthor would never acknowledge wondered what it would feel like to let his own ship dance among the stars. The Imperial science vessel Logic Prime deployed its most sophisticated scanning arrays, their crystalline structures extending like delicate fingers into space. Admiral Vexthor had ordered a complete analysis of the human fleet, certain that understanding their technology would reveal some weakness. Instead, each scan result only deepened the mystery. This cannot be correct, Chief Scientist Nixel muttered, her scaled fingers dancing across multiple holographic displays. Every human ship uses completely different operating principles. It defies standardization protocols. The first scan targeted Captain Chen's ship Bob, revealing an engine core that somehow harnessed the quantum fluctuations of space itself. The next scan showed a vessel powered by what appeared to be crystallized starlight. A third ship wasn't even using conventional engines. It surfed on gravitational waves like a boat on water. Admiral Nixel reported, her professional composure cracking. The humans aren't using any standardized technology. Each ship is what, Chief Scientist? Vexthor demanded. An experiment, sir. They're treating their entire fleet like a laboratory for creative engineering. On the main display, a human ship shaped like a silver whale breached through space, its hull somehow absorbing and redirecting solar wind into propulsion energy. Behind it, a smaller vessel had deployed massive solar sails that shimmered with patterns that looked suspiciously like abstract art. "Hey there, science friends!" Captain Chen's cheerful voice filled the command deck. "I see you're checking out our ships. Pretty neat, right? Each one's a passion project. That one over there." A green cargo ship drifted past the scanner arrays. "It runs on recycled coffee grounds. Don't ask me how." Our engineer said something about quantum caffeine extraction, then started giggling. Nixel's scans revealed even more impossibilities. One ship had somehow miniaturized a star into its power core. Another was utilizing crystallized time itself as fuel. A particularly small vessel appeared to be powered entirely by mathematical equations that shouldn't work, but somehow did. Their shield technologies are equally diverse, a junior scientist reported. "This one's using synchronized butterfly effects to deflect impacts. That one over there, it's technically phasing in and out of reality 3 times per second." The Eternal Glory sensors focused on a human vessel that seemed to be built from dozens of different architectural styles merged together. Its power readings made no sense. They formed a perfect fractal pattern that repeated at every scale of analysis. But how do they maintain safety standards? Nixel wondered aloud. How do they ensure system compatibility? How do they manage repairs? As if in answer, a small human maintenance shuttle zipped past the Logic Prime. Its pilot waved cheerfully through the viewport while using what appeared to be a modified food replicator to fabricate spare parts. "That's the beauty of it," Captain Chen explained, having apparently heard the scientist's questions. "Every ship is unique, so every crew becomes expert problem solvers. We call it creative engineering. Last week, the US of Butterfingers over there had a power fluctuation. Fixed it with rubber bands and a spare toaster. Don't ask me how, I'm still not sure myself, but it works better than ever." Admiral Vexthor watched as his finest scientific minds struggled to comprehend human technology. The Empire had spent millennia perfecting standardized systems, creating a unified technological base that spanned the galaxy. And here were the humans, treating starship design like an art project, breaking every rule of engineering, and somehow achieving better results. "Sir," Nixel said quietly, "I believe we may need to reconsider our assessment of human technological advancement. They're not primitive at all. They're just imaginative in ways we never considered possible." A human ship chose that moment to demonstrate its unique propulsion system, which somehow converted bad jokes into faster-than-light travel. The sound of laughter echoed through space once again, accompanied by the soft weeping of Imperial physicists watching their understanding of the universe crumble in the face of human creativity. The Imperial fleet's combat computers registered thousands of energy signatures as shield generators powered up across their formation. Admiral Vexthor had finally ordered defensive measures, determined to regain control of this increasingly chaotic situation. Yet even this simple action would not go as planned. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the human ships are adjusting their shield frequencies to match ours, but they're making slight modifications to the wavelengths." Before Vexthor could respond, a gentle hum filled the bridge. It started as a single note, pure and clear, emanating from the shield harmonics of Captain Chen's ship. Then another human vessel adjusted its frequencies, adding a perfect harmony to the first note. One by one, more ships joined in, their shield vibrations creating an intricate melody that traveled through the vacuum of space. They're using their shield frequencies to create music, the science officer whispered in amazement. The mathematical precision required to maintain both defensive capabilities and perfect pitches, extraordinary. The massive human cargo ship, Butterfingers, contributed a deep, resonant bass line through its industrial-grade shields. Smaller vessels added higher notes, their frequencies dancing through the spectrum. Even as space itself seemed to vibrate with the emerging symphony. I recognized this tune, a young Imperial navigator said excitedly, then quickly composed herself under Vexthor's stern gaze. My apologies, Admiral, but they're playing Ode to Joy. It's from their classical music archives. Captain Chen's voice came through, warm with enthusiasm. Nothing brings people together like music. Come on, Imperial friends. Your shield frequencies are already so close to a G major. Just a tiny adjustment and you could join right in. To Vexthor's horror, he noticed several of his ship's shield frequencies beginning to shift. The crews were adjusting them, ever so slightly, adding their own notes to the growing symphony. This is highly irregular, he declared, but his words were nearly lost in the swelling music. A group of human ships began to move in formation, their paths creating visual patterns that matched the rhythm of their shield harmonics. Energy trails painted auroras in space, pulsing in time with the music. The effect was mesmerizing, a combination of light, sound, and motion that turned the starfield into a concert hall. Check this out, Captain Chen announced. We've been practicing this next part. The human fleet rearranged itself into what their cultural database identified as an orchestra formation. Different sections of ships generated different instrumental sounds through their shield frequencies. The smaller vessels created string sections, medium ships provided wind instruments, and the largest ships resonated with percussion beats. The Imperial crews watched in stunned silence as the humans performed a medley of Earth's greatest classical compositions. Mozart blended into Beethoven, transitioned through Bach, and soared into Tchaikovsky. Each piece was rendered in perfect harmony through nothing more than carefully calibrated shield frequencies and synchronized ship movements. Fascinating, the Imperial science officer murmured, studying her readings. They're maintaining full defensive capabilities while performing. The shield modulations actually create interference patterns that would make them harder to target. They've turned an artistic expression into a tactical advantage without even trying. The music reached a crescendo, and several Imperial ships could no longer resist. They joined in, their own shield harmonics adding new layers to the symphony. Even the Eternal Glory's shields began to hum softly, though Vexthor would later insist this was due to a technical malfunction. Now that's what I call interstellar harmony, Captain Chen exclaimed. See, we're making beautiful music together already. Though I have to say, she added with audible amusement, your ships seem to be a bit tone-deaf on the high notes. No worries, a few practice sessions and you'll be ready for the galactic battle of the bands. As the combined fleet's symphony echoed through space, a passing asteroid spontaneously split into perfect geometric shapes, apparently unable to resist joining in the performance. The Imperial Admiral watched helplessly as military protocol dissolved into an impromptu concert, and somewhere in the distance, he could have sworn he heard the universe itself humming along. Admiral Vexthor had finally had enough. All ships execute combat patterns Sigma 9, he commanded, his voice cutting through the lingering harmonies of the impromptu concert. Demonstrate the precision of Imperial tactical doctrine. The Imperial fleet moved with practiced coordination, their formation shifting into an attack pattern perfected over millennia. Yet something was different about the human ships now. They had scattered like autumn leaves in a breeze, each taking seemingly random positions. Target locks failing, reported the weapons officer. Their movements, they aren't following any known evasion patterns. Captain Chen's voice bubbled through the comm system. Oh, we're doing tactical demonstrations now. Perfect. Everyone, time for some jazz warfare. Jazz warfare. Vexler's confusion was evident in his voice. "Watch and learn, Admiral. Hey, Mozark Squadron, give us a beat." 3 human ships that had been hiding behind a small moon suddenly emerged, their energy trails creating a steady rhythm in space. A larger vessel, the Butterfingers, started weaving through the Imperial formation, its unusual engine frequencies adding what could only be described as a bass line. "They're using our own combat response protocols against us," the tactical officer realized. "Every time we adjust to their movements, they improvise something new." The human ships moved like dancers interpreting music only they could hear. When Imperial vessels attempted to establish target locks, the humans would spin away in elaborate spirals, always managing to stay just out of optimal firing range while maintaining their formation's bizarre harmony. "Blue team, time for your solo," Captain Chen called out. A squadron of smaller human vessels painted in various shades of blue shot forward, weaving between Imperial ships in perfect synchronization. They weren't just avoiding the Imperial vessels, they were incorporating them into their performance, using the larger ships as pivot points for increasingly complex maneuvers. "Sir," the sensor officer reported, "I'm detecting unusual energy patterns. The humans are—" He paused, double-checking his readings. "They're using our own shield bubbles as resonance chambers to amplify their maneuverability." Indeed, every time a human ship passed close to an Imperial vessel, it would momentarily sync shield frequencies, creating a harmonic boost that catapulted it in unexpected directions. The effect rippled through space, turning the battlefield into a 3-dimensional chess game where the pieces refused to follow the rules. A small human vessel painted like a starlit sky performed what appeared to be a triple axle between 2 Imperial cruisers, leaving trails of rainbow energy in its wake. "That's the spirit," its pilot broadcast. "See? You're getting the hang of it. That slight wobble in your formation actually helped with the timing." The Imperial fleet's perfect formation began to deteriorate as ships attempted to track the unpredictable human movements. Each time they established a new pattern, the humans would change their rhythm, shifting seamlessly into new configurations that seemed to defy both physics and logic. "Remarkable," muttered the Imperial science officer. "Their tactical system appears to be based on musical improvisation principles. Each ship maintains awareness of the overall composition while contributing their own unique elements. It's chaos and harmony combined." Captain Chen's ship Bob spun past the Eternal Glory's bridge, its pilot giving a cheerful salute. "The secret is working together while staying unique," she explained. "Every ship, every crew brings something special to the dance. Speaking of which, hey, Quantum Jazz Quartet, show them that new move we've been practicing." 4 human ships suddenly aligned, their energy fields interweaving in impossible patterns. They created what appeared to be a temporary wormhole, jumped through it, and emerged in a shower of sparkles, now somehow playing what humans called Take 5 through their shield harmonics. Admiral Vexler watched as millennia of Imperial tactical doctrine crumbled in the face of humanity's improvisational warfare. His perfectly coordinated fleet was being outmaneuvered by ships that treated combat like a jazz concert, and the most infuriating part was that several of his own crews appeared to be enjoying it. The arrival of Imperial reinforcements should have been a turning point in the confrontation. 3 massive battle groups emerged from hyperspace, their weapons charged and shields at maximum power. Instead, they found themselves emerging into what appeared to be the galaxy's most unusual festival. "Welcome to the party." Captain Chen's voice greeted the newcomers. "You're just in time. We're about to start the light show." The human fleet had arranged itself into an enormous 3-dimensional smiley face, complete with twinkling eyes made from smaller ships flying in tight formation. The image hung in space like a constellation come to life, reflecting starlight off carefully arranged hull plates. Admiral Vexler watched in mounting disbelief as his reinforcements slowed their approach, clearly uncertain how to respond to this unprecedented situation. "Battle Group Sigma, maintain attack formation," he commanded. Battle Group Delta, prepare to. Oh, check this out, interrupted an enthusiastic human pilot. We've been working on this one all week. The smiley face constellation suddenly winked, its entire formation shifting in perfect synchronization. Then the human ships began to move again, flowing like a school of fish through space, their energy trails creating intricate patterns that seemed to tell stories in light. Are they drawing cat pictures in space? Asked a junior officer on one of the newly arrived ships. Indeed, the human fleet had reformed into the shape of a playful kitten batting at a ball of yarn, except the yarn was made from carefully controlled plasma vents, and the ball actually rolled through space in defiance of physics. Your reinforcements seem tense, Captain Chen observed. Hey, we know what helps with that. Butterfingers, fire up the party lights. The massive cargo ship Butterfingers activated what appeared to be thousands of small energy projectors across its hull. Beams of light in every color imaginable danced through space, creating patterns that rippled and flowed like the aurora borealis. Other human ships joined in, each adding their own unique lighting effects to the display. This is highly irregular, protested the commander of Battle Group Sigma, though several of his crew could be heard gasping in appreciation of the light show. Everything fun usually is, responded a human pilot cheerfully. Oh, and speaking of irregular, watch this. A group of smaller human vessels began moving in formation, their paths creating what appeared to be a complex mathematical equation in space. As they completed each symbol, their energy trails lingered, building a formula that, according to the Imperial Science Officer's startled report, actually solved several long-standing physics paradoxes through interpersonal relationships and dance theory. The humans are transmitting party music, reported a communications officer from Battle Group Delta, trying and failing to keep the amusement from his voice. Indeed, the human ships had begun broadcasting what they called greatest party hits through history, their shield harmonics pulsing in time with the beats. Several Imperial crews were observed moving in their seats, caught up in the infectious rhythm. Sir, reported Vexthor's tactical officer, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from our own ships. Several crews appear to be experimenting with their shield frequencies to match the human music. The Eternal Glory's bridge crew watched as discipline continued to erode across the fleet. An Imperial cruiser had begun flashing its running lights in sequence with the music. Two destroyer squadrons were attempting to mimic the humans' energy trail patterns, and Battle Group Delta's flagship had somehow ended up in the middle of what the humans called a conga line formation. That's the spirit. Captain Chen encouraged them. See? Having fun isn't going to break anything. Well, except maybe that one time with the quantum harmonics and the rubber duck, but we fixed that space-time wrinkle eventually. Admiral Vexthor stood silent on his bridge, watching as 3 centuries of imperial military discipline dissolved in the face of humanity's irrepressible joy. The worst part wasn't that his fleet was joining in the celebration. It was that small, treacherous part of himself that wanted to join them too. Admiral Vexthor stood at his command station, watching his once pristine fleet gradually succumb to the infectious enthusiasm of their human counterparts. The situation called for decisive action. He was about to order a tactical retreat when Captain Chen's voice came through once again, this time with an intriguing proposal. Say, Admiral, she began, her tone playful but challenging. Since we're all here, how about a friendly competition? Your best pilots against ours in a grand space race through the nearby asteroid field. The bridge fell silent. Several Imperial officers straightened in their seats, their professional pride piqued by the challenge. Even Vexthor felt a strange stirring of competitive spirit. A race? He repeated, trying to maintain his diplomatic tone. The Imperial fleet does not engage in such recreational activities. Afraid we'll win? Came the cheerful taunt from another human captain. Our pilots versus yours, showing off both skill and style. Unless you think those fancy ships of yours can't handle a few asteroids. The Admiral's golden eyes narrowed. The Imperial Navy has the finest pilots in the galaxy, he stated firmly. Before he could stop himself, he added, "Name your terms." Captain Chen's grin was audible in her voice. Free laps through the asteroid field. No weapons, just pure piloting skill. Each team demonstrates their best moves. The asteroid field's natural gravitational eddies and radiation streams make it extra exciting. "Sir," his tactical officer whispered, "this could be an opportunity to observe their maneuvering capabilities up close." Vexthor nodded slowly. "Very well. We accept your challenge." The two fleets arranged themselves along the edge of the asteroid field, creating a spectacular starting line. The human ships pulsed with colorful lights while the Imperial vessels maintained their dignified silver gleam. Each side selected their best pilots for the competition. "Racers ready," Captain Chen called out. "Remember, style points count. 3, 2, 1, go." What followed was the most extraordinary display of spaceship acrobatics the galaxy had ever witnessed. The Imperial pilots began with their traditional precision maneuvers, weaving through the asteroid field with calculated efficiency. Their formations were perfect, their turns precise. Then the humans showed their approach. A small ship painted like a cosmic rainbow barrel rolled between two asteroids, using their gravitational fields to slingshot itself forward. Another vessel skimmed so close to a spinning rock that it left a trail of sparkles across its surface, turning the asteroid into a temporary disco ball. "Now that's what I call thread the needle," whooped the human pilot as their ship spun through a gap barely wider than its hull, leaving a spiral of golden light in its wake. The Imperial pilots, not to be outdone, began incorporating more daring maneuvers into their routine. A destroyer captain executed a perfect vertical spin while maintaining formation. Two cruisers attempted a synchronized asteroid dodge that drew appreciative whistles from the human spectators. "Looking good, Imperial friends," Captain Chen encouraged. "But watch this. Hey Bob crew, time for the cosmic carnival flip." Her ship suddenly inverted, used an asteroid's magnetic field as a gravitational slide, and emerged performing what appeared to be an impossible series of corkscrews. The energy trail left behind formed a perfect double helix. As the race progressed, the distinction between human and Imperial flying styles began to blur. Imperial ships adopted some of the humans' flowing movements, while human vessels demonstrated unexpected moments of precision. The asteroid field became a three-dimensional dance floor where two very different approaches to spaceflight created something entirely new. "Final lap," announced Captain Chen. "Time for the grand final." Both sides gave it their all. Imperial ships moved with newfound creativity while maintaining their exceptional control. Human vessels pushed the boundaries of physics while showing surprising coordination. The result was a spectacular fusion of order and chaos, precision and artistry. Admiral Vexthor found himself leaning forward, watching intently as the racers approached the finish line. He didn't even realize he was smiling until he caught his reflection in a nearby screen and quickly composed himself. But by then, it was too late. His crew had seen it, and their grins told him that the humans weren't the only ones learning to enjoy themselves. The race had ended in what Captain Chen called an artistic tie, though Admiral Vexthor suspected this was diplomatic generosity on the humans' part. As ships from both fleets gathered for the closing ceremony, the humans prepared one final surprise for their Imperial visitors. "Admiral," Captain Chen's voice carried a note of ceremonial gravity that almost managed to hide her perpetual amusement. "We'd like to share something special with you. Everyone ready? Operation Stellar Celebration, commence." Hundreds of human ships moved in perfect coordination, arranging themselves in a sphere around both fleets. Their energy systems powered up simultaneously, creating a harmonic resonance that made the very fabric of space hum with anticipation. "Sir," the science officer reported, her voice filled with wonder. "They're using some kind of synchronized quantum field manipulation. The energy patterns are unlike anything in our database." Streams of light erupted from each human vessel, their colors shifting through impossible spectrums. The beams intersected and wove together, creating three-dimensional mandalas of pure energy that bloomed like flowers in the void. Each pattern told a story: scenes from Earth's history, portraits of stellar phenomena, and abstract designs that seemed to capture the very essence of creativity. The light show is actually altering local spacetime, the science officer continued, her fingers dancing across her console. But instead of causing disruption, it's creating patterns of quantum harmony. They're literally painting with the universe itself. The Butterfingers began a deep resonant hum, its massive hull serving as a conductor for what the humans called their space orchestra. Other ships joined in, their shield harmonics and energy fields creating a symphony that complemented the visual display. The music spoke of exploration, discovery, and the joy of finding friendship in unexpected places. Admiral Vexthor watched as his own crews became fully engaged in the celebration. Imperial ships began adding their own elements to the display, their precise energy patterns interweaving with the humans' more fluid style. The result was something entirely new, a perfect fusion of order and creativity. Beautiful contribution, Captain Chen exclaimed as an Imperial destroyer created a series of geometric patterns that fit perfectly into the humans' flowing light show. See, this is what happens when we work together instead of worrying about who's in charge of who. The Admiral found himself nodding. Over the past few hours, he had witnessed his fleet accomplish things he would have previously thought impossible, all because they had allowed themselves to experiment, to play, to create. The humans hadn't defeated the Imperial fleet, they had transformed it. Captain Chen, Vexthor spoke, his voice carrying across all channels. I believe I owe you an apology. We came here expecting to find a civilization in need of Imperial guidance. Instead, we found teachers. Oh, don't sell yourself short, Admiral. We're all learning from each other here. Your crews have some seriously impressive moves. They just needed permission to use them creatively. As if to prove her point, an Imperial cruiser executed a perfect spiral maneuver, its energy trail creating a double helix that human ships immediately incorporated into their light show. The crew's proud chatter could be heard across all frequencies. Perhaps, Vexthor suggested, surprising himself, we could arrange a cultural exchange program. Our pilots could learn your jazz warfare, and we could share our precision techniques. Now you're talking. Chen's enthusiasm was infectious. Just wait until you see what we can create together. Though maybe we should warn the physics department first. They're still recovering from our last creative breakthrough. The celebration continued as human and Imperial ships danced together through space, their combined energy patterns visible from light years away. Passing vessels would later report seeing an impossible aurora of light and color, accompanied by music that seemed to make the stars themselves dance. And in his private log that evening, Admiral Vexthor made a most un-Imperial entry. Today, we set out to expand the Empire. Instead, we expanded our understanding of what's possible when you let go of rigid expectations and embrace the joy of creation. The humans didn't need our civilization, we needed their reminder of how to truly live.